If you're a Canadian permanent resident and you're planning to travel outside Canada soon, you might want to hold that booking for just a few more minutes. There's something happening at Canadian airports right now that could delay your re-entry, and most PR holders have no idea about it. I'm not talking about normal customs questions. I'm talking about new biometric screening rules that are being rolled out quietly, and if you're not prepared, you could be stuck at the airport for hours. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'll tell you exactly what you need to carry with you to avoid this mess. All right, so here's what's going on. Canada has been using biometric data for visa applicants for a few years now, fingerprints and photos. But now they're expanding this system to include permanent residents as well, especially at points of re-entry. That means when you come back to Canada after a trip abroad, you might be pulled aside for biometric verification, even if you have a valid PR card. And here's the part that's catching people off guard. Not every PR holder is being informed about this in advance. So you might show up at the airport thinking everything is fine, only to be taken to a separate room for additional screening. And trust me, that's not a quick process. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but I have my PR card, so why would they stop me? Well, here's the thing. Your PR card proves your status, yes, but it doesn't always prove your identity in the way the new biometric system requires. The Canadian Border Services Agency, or CBSA, is now cross-checking travelers against a larger digital database, and if your biometric data isn't already in that system, or if there's any mismatch, you'll be flagged. This is happening more and more, especially to people who became permanent residents before biometrics were mandatory. So if you got your PR 5 or 6 years ago, there's a good chance your fingerprints and photo aren't even in the system yet. And it's not just about being stopped. It's about how long the process takes. I've been hearing from people who were held at the airport for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 hours just to verify their identity. Imagine landing after a long international flight, tired, maybe traveling with kids, and then you're told to wait in a small room while they sort things out. No clear timeline, no explanation, just waiting. And the worst part? There's not much you can do in that moment because the officers are just following the new protocol. So the frustration isn't really their fault, but it doesn't make the experience any less stressful. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine, let's call her Priya, flew back to Toronto from India last month. She's been a PR holder for 7 years, never had any issues before. But this time, after she scanned her passport at the kiosk, the screen flagged her for secondary inspection. She had no idea why. She waited in line, then got called into a side office. They asked her basic questions, took her fingerprints again, and made her wait while they verified everything. The whole thing took almost 3 hours. She missed her connecting flight to Ottawa. She had to rebook. Extra cost, extra stress. And she still doesn't fully understand why it happened. That's the reality right now for a lot of PR holders. Now I know what you're thinking. Is this legal? Can they really do this? And the answer is yes. CBSA has the authority to verify the identity of anyone entering Canada, including citizens and permanent residents. It's part of border security. And with the rise of identity fraud and document forgery, they're tightening the rules. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's new and most people aren't ready for it. So the question isn't whether they can do it. The question is, how do you make sure you're not the one stuck waiting for hours? Here's what you need to know. If you're planning to travel soon, check whether your biometrics are already on file with IRCC. That's Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. If you applied for PR recently, like in the last 4 or 5 years, your biometrics are probably already in the system. But if you became a PR before 2018, there's a good chance they're not. And that's when problems start. You can actually check your biometric status online through your IRCC account. I'll talk more about that in a second. But the point is, don't assume everything is fine just because you have a valid PR card. The card and the biometric database are 2 separate things. Also, when you're traveling, make sure you carry more than just your PR card. Bring your confirmation of permanent residence document, also called the co-PR. That's the paper you got when you first landed as a PR. A lot of people throw it away or leave it at home, but it has important details that can help verify your identity faster. Also, carry a second piece of government-issued ID, like a driver's license or a passport from your home country. The more documents you have, the smoother the process will be if you do get stopped. I know it sounds like a hassle, but trust me, it's better to carry extra documents than to sit in a CBSA office for 3 hours trying to prove who you are. Now, here's something important. If you're traveling with family, especially kids, make sure their biometrics are up to date too. A lot of parents don't realize that even children need biometrics now if they're over a certain age. And if your child's information isn't in the system, you could all be delayed. I've heard stories of families being separated at the airport because one person got flagged and the others didn't. It's confusing, it's stressful, and it's avoidable if you just prepare ahead of time. Let me also talk about what happens if you're actually stopped. First, stay calm. I know that's easier said than done, but getting frustrated or arguing won't speed things up. The officers are doing their job, and they're following a process. Answer their questions honestly and provide whatever documents they ask for. If they need to take your fingerprints, let them. It usually takes just a few minutes. The waiting part is what takes long, not the actual biometric scan. And once your information is updated in the system, future trips should be smoother. So think of it as a one-time inconvenience, not a permanent problem. But here's the bigger issue. A lot of PR holders are finding out about these rules only after they've already been stopped. There's no mass email from IRCC, no text message, no official warning. The information is buried on government websites, and unless you're actively looking for it, you won't find it. That's why I'm making this video. I want you to be prepared before you travel, not surprised at the airport. And if this is helping you right now, do me a favor and hit the like button. It really helps more people find this information. Part 2. So what should you do right now, today, before your next trip? First, log into your IRCC account online. If you don't have one, create it. It's free and it takes just a few minutes. Once you're in, check your profile and see if your biometrics are listed. If they are, great. If not, you might want to consider updating them before you travel. Now, I know updating biometrics isn't always easy. You have to go to a designated location, book an appointment, and pay a fee. But if it saves you hours of stress at the airport, it's worth it. And honestly, if you travel often, it's almost necessary now. Another thing you should do is visit the official CBSA website. I'm not going to read out the whole URL here, but if you search for CBSA traveler information or biometric screening, you'll find the official pages. Read through them, understand what the process is, know your rights. For full details, I've added the official links in the video description. You can visit those websites and verify the information yourself. I always recommend going straight to the source, especially for immigration stuff, because rules can change quickly. Now, let me address something a lot of people ask. Does this affect everyone equally? And the honest answer is no. From what I've been seeing, PR holders who travel frequently, especially to and from certain countries, are being flagged more often. I'm not saying it's fair, I'm not saying it's right, but that's the pattern. So if you travel to India, Pakistan, the Middle East, or parts of Africa, be extra prepared. Carry all your documents, double-check your biometric status, and maybe even arrive at the airport a little earlier than usual, just in case. Also, if you're someone who recently renewed your PR card, don't assume your biometrics were updated automatically. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. It depends on when and how you applied. So again, check your IRCC account. Make sure everything is current. And if you're not sure, call the IRCC helpline. Yes, the wait times are long. Yes, it's annoying. But it's better to spend 30 minutes on hold now than 3 hours at the airport later. Here's another thing that's frustrating people. Even if you do everything right, you might still get stopped. Why? Because the system is new and it's not perfect. There are glitches. There are delays in updating information. Sometimes your biometrics are in the system, but the airport kiosk doesn't recognize them. It's technology, and technology fails sometimes. So even if you're fully prepared, there's still a chance you'll face delays. But at least if you have all your documents and your biometrics are up to date, the delay will be shorter. That's the best you can do right now. Let me also talk about something that's not being discussed enough. If you're a PR holder who's been outside Canada for a long time, like close to the limit of your residency obligation, this biometric screening might also trigger additional questions. CBSA officers might ask you how long you've been gone, why you were away, and whether you're still meeting the requirements to keep your PR status. So if you're in that situation, be ready to explain. Bring proof of ties to Canada, like lease agreements, job letters, or kids' school records. Don't give them a reason to doubt your intention to stay in Canada. Now, I already made a full video on how to maintain your PR status and avoid losing it. You can find it on the end screen or click the I button above. That video goes deep into residency obligations, travel limits, and what to do if you're cutting it close. So if that's your situation, definitely watch that one next. It'll answer a lot of your questions. All right, so let's talk about what happens if you ignore all of this. If you don't check your biometrics, don't carry extra documents, and just show up at the airport hoping for the best, you're taking a risk. Maybe you'll be fine, maybe you won't. But why gamble with your travel plans? Why put yourself in a situation where you could miss a flight, lose money, or worse, face complications with your PR status? It's just not worth it. A little preparation now can save you a lot of trouble later. And by the way, if you're traveling soon and you want to avoid all this stress, one option is to apply for a Nexus card if you're eligible. Nexus members usually go through a faster screening process, and since your biometrics are already verified during the Nexus application, you're less likely to be flagged. It's not a solution for everyone, but if you travel to the US often, it's worth looking into. Which city are you watching from, by the way? Comment below and let me know. I love hearing from people all over Canada and around the world. And if this video helped clear things up for you, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post clear and simple updates on Canadian immigration, PR rules, citizenship, and everything in between. No complicated legal language, just real, useful information that you can actually use. So here's the bottom line. New biometric rules are being enforced at Canadian airports, and PR holders are being stopped more often than before. It's not about scaring you, it's about preparing you. Check your biometric status, carry your documents, know what to expect, and don't wait until you're at the airport to figure this out. Do it now. Do it today. And here's something I'll talk about in the next video. There's a new policy being discussed that could change how PR renewals work entirely, especially for people who've been outside Canada for extended periods. It's not official yet, but if it passes, a lot of PR holders could be in trouble. So make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss that one. Stay prepared, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.